Was it morning? What had happened to me? Ah, yes. Right. All at once, the events of the previous night rushed back. If only this was my room, I thought. They had tied me up quite well, so all I could do was wriggle around in the bed, twisting the blankets around me. I wished pointlessly I knew that I were back home, waking up on my warm futon. If only this were all a very strange nightmare. But it was not. I had met those men the night before, and they had taken me with them to the headquarters of the Shinsengumi. What will happen to me now that I'm all tied up and can't stretch myself? Seriously, I imagine that, like, if I was all tied up, like, I feel like I would have an itch and I wouldn't be able to stretch it, and it would drive me insane. Granted, there are bigger things to worry about than having an itch that you can't scratch. But can you imagine, though? I'm just saying. I sighed and laid down to await my fate and tried to ignore the itch on my leg. It was at that moment that the door slid open and a kind-looking man stepped through. With a soft smile, he introduced himself as Inoue. His smile quirked as he removed my ropes. Working quickly and skillfully, my wrists, however, were left unbound. I mean, they were left bound, is what I meant to say. Thank you. Now I can get that itch on my leg. I'll just, like, use my other foot and just kinda... I bowed and he let out a short laugh. Ha! Look, we've been over this before. I didn't see anything. I wasn't there. I mean, I saw stuff, but I can pretend that I saw nothing. But, okay. I nodded and did my best to stand up, my body still a bit unsteady after being tied up all night. That wasn't very nice of them, but hey, at least they didn't kill me. The man who called himself Inoue was very polite and almost kind, but it was quite clear that I was to do as I was told. He must have been able to guess my thoughts because he smiled at me and winked. They don't seem that nice to me. They want to kill me. Oh? But then again, I mean, if they really wanted to kill me, I would already be dead. So the fact that they discussing, you know, the fact that they thinking about it this long and this much, maybe they don't want to kill me. You know, if they wanted me dead, I would have been dead. But I'm not dead, so yeah. I wasn't sure what to think of that. Even at home, I'd heard rumors of the vicious Shinsengume. They weren't pleasant rumors. It's hard to imagine that the people in charge of such an organization were nice. But also, they didn't kill me yet, so... Inoue led me to a room and opened the door. I stepped inside and found myself surrounded by the leaders of the Shinsengumi. Their eyes dug into me like so many knives. I froze, just past the threshold, and swallowed. I remembered him, Okita. Perhaps it was because I was surrounded by strange men, but it was somehow comforting to see a face I recognized, even if he wanted to kill me. Even it was the face of a rather frightening man who was almost certainly willing and able to kill me. Exactly. Let's not forget that. Well, it wasn't particularly comfortable being tied up. I chose my words carefully. I know the position I'm in. His face twisted sideways into a grin. Wait, what? Okita's grin widened. As my face turned red, Saito rolled his eyes. There's something kind of funny about this serious person just rolling his eyes like, oh my goodness, this idiot can't take him nowhere. Quite silent, I stared at Okita. With his grin still playing about his face, he glanced over at Saito. I don't think Saito did anything wrong. You, on the other hand. Hijikata's voice brooked no further insubordination. Okita shrugged and was silent, but the smile stayed in his eyes. That's a new voice. The man who spoke was, well, he looked more like a boy than a man. I had imagined the leaders of the Shinsengumi to be old or at least middle-aged men, but they all looked quite young. In fact, they looked rather like a group of young thugs. That was Toto. On our way from my bed, Inoue had given me a brief description of the people I was about to meet. Supposedly, Toto was the youngest captain in the Shinsengumi. He chuckled as he spoke, but the way he looked at me suggested that there was little he missed despite his humor. The man across from him nodded and brows drawn, as if he was quite serious about the subject. However, I remembered Inoue telling me that the two of the men in particular were somewhat immature, to put it nicely. He had said the one with short hair was Nagakura, and the other with the longer hair was Harada. Their back and forth had the feel of a routine that long predated my arrival, but they couldn't quite hide the odd, inquisitive glance in my direction. I could sense something other than simple curiosity, though a feeling of animosity or resentment perhaps. Despite their cheerful levity, they had not forgiven my presence among them. I mean, it's not like I want to be here. I didn't have a choice. Suddenly, I wanted very much to go home. I wanted to leave that place and never return. My chest tightened and I looked down at the floor, hoping that I just might wake up at home in my bed. Oh? His voice was calm and warm, and I felt myself relax, even if it was only a little. But he's wearing glasses. He can't be that scary. He's smiling, and he's wearing glasses. There was the faintest trace of a smirk on Hijikata's lips. As he finished speaking, the rest of the men nodded solemnly in agreement. I found it hard to believe this man could be as scary as they all seemed to think. I mean, he's wearing glasses. That means he had to get like an eye exam. Actually, you know what? Did they do eye exams back in the day? I'm not even sure. But he's wearing glasses, so. The man called Sanan, how do you even say his name? Sanan? I'm not really sure. The man called Sanan smiled as he smoked and leaned back, his riposte delivered. Hijikata said nothing, but his own smile did not leave his face. Hijikata and Sanai had sounded so cold when they'd spoken to one another, so I got them a jacket so they could warm up. Not what I wouldn't have called it friendly. Still, the man who had spoken had certainly sounded as though he thought they were friends.
Ah, 自己紹介が遅れたな。俺が新選組局長、近藤勇だ。
A lot of people smiling at me, considering they thinking about killing me. The most important man in the Shinsengumi
そ
then.
れから、そこの都市が副長で、横にいる三男君は総長を務めて。
いや、近藤さん。なんでいろいろ教えてやってんだよ、あんたは。
まずいのか？
情報を与える必要がないんだったら黙ってる方が得策なんじゃないですかね。
Look, I can unhear everything I was just told. I can unhear it so fast. In fact, I didn't hear nothing.
わざわざ教えてやる義理はないんじゃない？
That's right. You owe me nothing. Can I leave now? Harada glanced over at Kodo and let out a bark of laughter.
ま、知られて困ることもねえよ。
Kondo had looked rather disappointed when Hijikata spoke, but he perked up at Harada's words. I'd scarcely known him for 5 minutes, but already I could see that he was well liked by his men. He had that sort of charisma that simply drew you in, a man who was impossible to hate.
さて、本題に入ろう。まずは改めて昨晩の話を聞かせてくれるか。
I can tell you what happened last night. I didn't see nothing. I didn't hear nothing. Now can I go? Kondo's glance moved to Saito, who gave a small nod and began to speak.
昨晩、今日の都を巡回中に不老の老師と遭遇。相手が刀を抜いたため、切り合いとなりました。大使らは老師を無力化しましたが、その折、彼らが失敗した様子を目撃されています。
As he finished, Saito turned to look at me. I swallowed and forced my mouth to open. I didn't see anything. I cannot stress that enough. Hijikata softened a little at my response, but Saito remained expressionless, and the smile on Okita's face didn't change.
なあ、お前本当に何も見てないのか？
Yes, I didn't see anything. I hope that if I said it enough times, they might start to believe me.
見てないんならいいんだけどさ。
Exactly. Because I didn't see anything.
掃除の話では、お前が大使でも助けてくれたって話だったが。
Nagakura, you could have kept that to yourself. No, that's not true. I glanced over at Okita, but his smile still hadn't changed. Whatever he was thinking was a mystery to me. I was running away from the Ronin, and then some people with Shinsengumi uniforms showed up. Really, they sort of rescued me.
じゃあ、大使どもが老師を切り殺している場面はしっかり見ちゃったってわけだな。
No? I couldn't exactly deny that. Sure I could. But I knew that if I just shut up then, they'd know for sure that I was lying.
つまり、最初から最後まで一部始終を見てたってことか。
I know how to keep a secret. I was completely at a loss.
お前、根が素直なんだろうな。それ自体は悪いことじゃないんだろう。
I mean, even if I lied, y'all wasn't gonna believe me, now was y'all? I wasn't sure what to make of Harada's words. My presence had not been a good thing for the Shinsengumi. Would their next words be the ones that condemned me to death for being in the wrong place at the wrong time? My voice shook, but I knew I had to try. I won't tell anyone, I promise.
偶然老師に絡まれていたという君が敵側の人間だとまでは言いませんが。
Exactly, Sanan. Exactly. Can I call you Kesuke? It's easier to say Kesuke. Can I call you Kesuke?
君に言うつもりがなくとも相手の誘導尋問に乗せられる可能性はある。
I thought we was cool, Kesuke. You know what? No, you're not Kesuke anymore. Now you're back to being Sanan. Sanan's the last name, right? His voice was still warm, but his words were cold, and I began to feel my chances at the life I had slip away. Oh boy.
話さないというのは簡単だが、こいつが新選組に義理立てする理由もない。
I mean, you're not wrong. You're not wrong. I don't think I would handle torture very well. I think I would spill everything immediately. You wouldn't just one threat, half a threat, barely a threat, and I'm just gonna say everything. Just,
約束を破らない保証なんてないですし、やっぱり解放するのは難しいですよね。
But it would be very nice of you to let me go. So, you know, what's better, being smart or being nice? They had a point, but I want to live.
ほら、殺しちゃいましょうよ。口封じするなら、それが一番じゃないですか。
But I looked desperately at Kondo, who gave Okita a reproving look.
そうじ、物騒なことを言うな。お上の民をむやみに殺して何とする。
Exactly. I'm just a civilian. Okita's smile disappeared and he looked down at the
そ
floor.
んな顔しないでくださいよ。今のはただの冗談ですから。
Wait, so you don't want to kill me? I'm very confused. What do y'all want from me?
冗談に聞こえる冗談を言え。
Okita made an attempt at a derisive snort and looked intently at a wall, his face slightly red.
しかし、なんとかならんのかね。まだこんな子供だろ
う。私も何とかしてあげたいとは思いますが、うっかり漏らされでもしたら一大事でしょ。
Sanan paused for a moment, his brows furrowed, then turned to Hijikata.
私は副長のご意見を伺いたいのですが。
Hijikata, old pal, you don't want to kill me? With the responsibility of his position invoked, Hijikata had no choice. He sighed and glanced around the room. And then he chose to let me live because he's a good guy.
俺たちは昨晩、指導に背いた大使を粛清した。こいつはその現場に居合わせた。
Yeah, wrong place, wrong time, okay.
それだけだとおっしゃりたいんですか？
Huh?
実際このガキの認識なんざ、その程度のもんだとは思うんだ。
Exactly. It makes no sense to me. And no one would believe me anyway.
けどよ、こればっかりは大義のためにも内密にしなきゃなんねえことなんだろ。新選組の大使は血に狂ってるなんて噂が立ちゃ、俺らのタイムにだって支障が出るぜ。
Shinpachi's words made sense and they all knew it. Hijikata's face looked grim.
掃除の意見も一理あるとは思うけどな。ま、俺は土方さんや近藤さんの決定に従う。
俺は逃がしてやってもいいと思う。
Hesuke, you are a beautiful soul. I should go for your route. Toto looked troubled.
こいつは別にあいつらが血に狂った理由を知っちまったわけでもないんだしさ。
Exactly. I have no idea what's going on. Even if, like, okay, sure, I saw everything, I guess, but like, you know, like I can't make heads or tails of it, you know? Wait, what did he mean by that? To be honest, I hadn't really thought about it, and I shouldn't think about it. Hijikata saw my eyes go wide, and I saw his narrow. They flicked to Todo.
へえ、すけ。余計な情報をくれてやるな。
No sooner were the words out of Hijikata's mouth than Todo clapped both hands over his own.
はあ、これでますます君の無罪方面が難しくなっちゃったね。
何したるもの、死ぬ覚悟くらいできてんだろ。お前も諦めて腹くくちまいな。
No? A man? Oh! They thought I was a boy. With everything else that had happened, I'd completely forgotten how I was dressed.
確かに潔く死ぬのも男の道だな。俺も若い頃は切腹したし。
佐野の場合、まだ生きてるけどな。
Their jokes were barbaric, but they both broke into raucous laughter at them. I don't really see what's funny. Saito did his best to ignore them.
土方さん、
Tried his best to ignore the
結論もないし
freaking
一
idiots.
旦こいつを部屋に戻して構いませんか。
As he spoke, Saito turned to look at me.
同席させた状態で誰かが機密を漏らせば、処分も何も。
Alright, I
どうしようかなくなる。
I hear you loud and clear, Saito, or maybe I don't hear you at all. Whatever y'all want me to hear or unhear, I'm here for it. Or I'm not here. I don't know. Ah, he was right. If I remained with them, then I could easily hear something I wasn't supposed to. I didn't think he'd mentioned it for my sake, only as a possible concern for this Shinsengumi, but I was still glad he brought it up. I appreciate that, Saito.
そうだな。頼めるか。
Saito nodded.
私もその判断には賛成しますよ。ここには迂闊な方も多いですしね。
うわ、三男さん。わざわざこっち見て言うとかきついよ。
ま、仕方ねえよ。迂闊なのは俺らの担当だろ。主に平介。
そんな責めるなよ。俺だって悪気はなかったんだからさ。
I could hear Toto's voice rise as everyone turned to look at him. He looked at them for a bit, then turned to me and mumbled in a voice I could barely hear.
ごめんな。
Toto, you're a good guy. You really are. I was still afraid that I was about to die, so I couldn't bring myself to tell him no harm had been done, but he looked as though he'd meant what he said, so I gave him an awkward nod. It was the most I could manage.
行くぞ。
Alright. I mean, what am I gonna do? Say no and try to run? Sure, that'll work out great. Shall we go? He phrased it like a question, but like, what choice did I have?